Hello everyone. Welcome to another exciting talk of the evening of the event IWCON. I am Shravani, team member of Infosec Write-ups. So all the talks of the event are sponsored by our amazing sponsors Hackru, Zero Point Security, Yes We Hack, Patch Chain, Saptang Labs, and our amazing community partners. So today we have an amazing speaker with us. He is none other than Mohammed Diaa. He is the Trickest head of workflows, and today he's gonna talk about meta versus madness, developing flexible automation workflows. So, guys, there will be a Q&A after the session. So, if you have any questions while the session is happening, you can just drop in the Q&A session. Mohammed will be taking them after the talk. Also, everyone, please share your screenshots and tag us on Twitter at the rate infosec.com. And we have giveaways, three amazing giveaways. That is Pentester Lab Pro 1 month coupon. The other is Burp Bounty Pro annual license and our cool IW swag. So if you're someone who is only interested in the swag, you can just add the hashtag IW swag. So let us welcome Mohammed on stage. Hi Mohammed.
Hello, hello. Hey, everyone.
So you can share your screen so that I'll just tell if it is visible or not.
Cool. So how about now?
Yes, we can see the slides.
Cool.
Guys, so people, I hope you all have a nice time.
All right, so let's get in. So like the talk that I'm like over the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna be talking about how to develop flexible automation workflows. And like the basic premise of this talk is like we as a community, we consume a lot of content, but we end up applying just a fraction of this content to our like day-to-day work. So over like the next like 30-ish minutes, I'm gonna be like looking at this problem a bit more in depth, and I'm gonna be sharing the approaches and the methods that I've tried to like combat this problem. So before we get in, this is like a little bit about myself. My name is Mohammed. You can find me by this handle on like Twitter, GitHub, and like all of the other social media stuff. And you can see like some of my projects on this URL. Like there will be like mostly like automation themed, like tools and like talks about automation and like projects and research and stuff like that. I currently work as Trickest head of workflows, and you can check out some of the stuff we have built on our like GitHub account and our blog. And we do like pretty much of the same stuff. Like we develop automation workflows and methods and like try to improve the productivity of people who work in the like infosec industry. So let's get in. So like as I was saying in the beginning, like we have a lot of content in the infosec industry. Like on Twitter, like we and I follow a bunch of people and they share amazing stuff like every day. I follow like a lot of blogs over like on Feedly. There are a lot of like great YouTube channels. There are conference talks like this one, the ones before and the ones after. So like you're gonna have like some frame of reference on applying the topic we're gonna be discussing today in a bit. Like we see a lot of like disclosed reports from like HackerOne's activity and like CrowdStream. Like we read a lot of documentation, we do research, we follow a bunch of people on GitHub, and this is all like pretty amazing, but it comes like with a problem. And the problem is like there will be like a lot of input, but there's not a lot of output. Like you end up applying like just a little bit of everything you learn to your methodology. And like when it actually comes to it and you go to like test a website or test a target, you pretty much forget 90% of everything you've like put in the time of learning, and then the whole thing becomes like pretty useless. So how do we like fix this? How do we like solve the problem of, yay, I got a new invite, I got a new like penetration testing client, like how do I start? How do I actually apply the stuff that I learned? And like the way to combat this is like through building a system around this knowledge, which we're gonna get into in a little bit. And like one of the benefits you're gonna get out of it, besides like knowing the answering the now what question after you get a new target, is you will be able to prioritize like what matters to your target. Like you will see sometimes on these like bug bounty like brief pages that sometimes the company will care about like a specific type of vulnerability, a specific type of data that they want to protect, and they want you to test for this specific thing. So like by having your, maybe not the entire methodology, but having like a big part of your methodology laid out in like a written and like in a visual format, this can help you like trace back from this, like from this target, and work your way backward to how you're going to approach this target. And the third thing is like it's gonna help you like lead a less stressful life. Like we've all been there. Like we've all had this situation where we've been like testing a target like all day long, and then you go to sleep and then you remember, hey, there's this one thing that I forgot to test for. Hey, there's like this like recon technique that I forgot to apply here. Like, and maybe because of that, like there's something that I missed. So we're gonna look at ways to like help better like solve this problem. And like the one more thing you can like keep in mind while building the system is it's gonna help you help others. Like let's imagine like a friend reaches out to you like asking, hey, I'm testing this target, I have this scenario in front of me, like the target has this technology and like the functionality does things in a certain way, but then like I'm trying to achieve that goal, how do I go about that? So like you can help them by memory, like you can like think together, but it will help if you have your methodology laid out in front of you, so you can just make sure that you're like helping them like the best possible way. And there's also the aspect of sharing the stuff that you learn on like a blog or on a talk or in a video or anything like that. And one more thing, and the last thing in like the list of reasons you should care about building a system around your knowledge, it's going to help accelerate your learning and like help you become better at web security research or like security research in general. And like the best person to quote in this is like Portswigger's amazing director of research, the James Kettle. And he had this article like a couple of years ago, I think, about like how to become a security researcher. And he had this idea of hunting for forgotten knowledge, and like how you should like go into the archives of like the blogs and like the YouTube channels and the sources of your content, of your security content, and like read the entire thing. Like you follow through every single thing you find from this like content creator, and it's gonna help you become a better researcher. So like the approach that I'm going to suggest right now is applying this hunting for forgotten knowledge, but on your own knowledge, if that makes sense. So that you will have like a way to like take a more critical look, a more objective look at like the knowledge you have and like find ways to improve it. And it's all going to come down to building a system around this knowledge, like we mentioned. So like on my like quest to like find the perfect system for managing the security knowledge, like I went through different phases, different eras, different methodologies that I have tried, and like let me like walk you through them quickly here. So like the first thing that I tried was just relying on memory. Like, hey, I read this thing and hey, I'm gonna like when I need it, I'm gonna remember it, and like this just never happens. Like it's pretty rare for like for me, especially if it's something like very specific, like hey, there is this like on I saw on Twitter like a tip for testing like a specific kind of functionality and like a specific kind of target. But when I actually come across this target in like a pen test or in like a bug bounty program, then like there is a very real chance that I'm just gonna forget that this tip ever existed. So I try to like improve that by building a sort of like an archive of like the stuff that I read. And so like I had this Notion page where if I find like anything interesting, either like there is like a new tool that got released, there is like a tip that I saw on Twitter, there is like an interesting blog, then like I had these like different Notion pages. Like one of them was titled like, "Hey, these are like Twitter tips, and these are like interesting videos, and these are like now cool tools," which helped a little bit. Like, but if you ask me, like it wasn't that useful because like it wasn't very easy to go through this content like when you actually need it. Like you can't just search through everything that's inside of these like sources, which brings us to the third way, which is trying to inject like some structure and actionability into this archive. Like the first person that I saw like talking about this was Jason Haddix on his amazing the web application, like the amazing talks that he did about the methodologies you can use for testing either web apps or for recon. And you should definitely check them out if you haven't already. But like these are like a collection of the tips and the tools and the stuff that Jason has learned, and he has distilled them into like this accessible sort of format where he can just apply this knowledge. Like he knows that like for maybe for every target he starts with subdomain enumeration, so he has all of these tools and all of these techniques that he has learned over like the many years that he's been in this industry for subdomain enumeration. And then you go to port scan and he knows that there are like all of these different tools, and this one's better at doing this thing and this one's is better at doing this other thing and stuff like that. And like the system that I'm using right now is sort of like this methodology approach, but like there's another element injected into it, which is automation. So like the way I do things now is like I'll be on maybe Twitter or YouTube, like consuming content like always. And then like everything that I read, everything that I come across goes into this triage system on maybe Notion. And like what happens then is like I add a new like sort of element in Notion for every little thing that I learn, and then I tag it with the actionable way that I can apply this like new piece of knowledge to my like my future web app. This is like my specialty, like web apps and recon. And like this goes into like one of like four or five different like paths. And like the first one of them is like there is like part of the methodology that's just written down, like stuff that I couldn't automate. And these things I have like laid out in Notion as like some action tips, like, hey, if you're testing a web app and it has like, and this authentication works in this specific way, then you should test for like X, Y, and Z. And then like if you're doing recon on a target, you should start with like searching for subdomains, and then you can go ahead and like generate a custom word list to search for subdomains, and then do port scans, stuff like that. So this is like the first approach. This is like the manual part of the methodology. And then like another part of it is like trying to like build workflows around the ideas that I learned, like the things that can be applied on a more high level. And like let me show you how that works in a minute. So So like for those who aren't familiar, this is like the Trickest platform, and like this is where I build my automation workflows for the stuff that can be applied on a more like high level, the things that I can run, like where I can input just one target, and I have like an entire methodology like laid out for this. And like let's look at like an example of how like this sort of workflow like develops over time. So like when I was just starting out, my entire like recon like process just boiled down to just enumerating subdomains. So like I like back then I used like I think sublister. Let's start with subfinder here. And like I entered the domain. And that was pretty much it. Like this is everything I knew about recon. But over time, like you learn new things, and you like either new things for like the same sort of like goal, like subdomain narration here, or like you learn to build up on like the data that you already got. So like one thing that I learned is like subfinder can't find everything. Like there are some passive sources that it doesn't have, but another tool that has them is a mass. So like I go ahead and add it to my workflow. And then like one more thing that I learned is that not every API like that these two tools query for like can work without an API key. And so what I did about that is like I try to like supply API keys for them. And then like after collecting like the results of both of these tools using sort of a shell script, a basic one, like one more thing that I learned is that like it's not about just passive subdomain enumeration. Like I should be looking at doing active subdomain enumeration using a word list. So let's like search for a word list here, and I like connect my initial target to it. And like a word list, like at the time I was using like a pretty ineffective word list, let's say that. But then over time, I learned to improve the word list that I have with every target that I test. So like basically, whenever I test like a new company, then every passive subdomain every subdomain that I find passively ends up included in my word list, and it helps me find like subdomains for other targets. And then like after I learned to do this, like let's add this here and add it to the same script so that everything's merged. Then like I found that active subdomain enumeration like doesn't work that well unless you add a custom list of resolvers, because if you keep on hammering just one DNS server, then it's gonna like either block you or it's gonna like start returning like incorrect results. So then I learned to add resolvers to my active subdomain enumeration tool. And then I have like a list of subdomains here. What else can I apply? Then I learned about like port scans. So I add it here. And then like one more thing is like by default, this tool will only test for like the top 1,000 like ports. So I learned to test for all ports, or for like a specific set of ports that I know work like most of the time. So like I try to mess with the config here to get like the best use out of this tool. And then like one more thing we try to apply is like searching for endpoints and doing like active path discovery. So like this is added here, and we connect the hosts, and like I have a word list. And then over time, this word list then improves, and like I upload a new word list which gets applied to like every new test that I run. And this is like pretty much how it goes with these like high level workflows. Is like I start like pretty basic. Like if you remember here, all of these didn't exist when I first started this, like this part. and it was just Subfinder. But like over time, you learn new things and you try to apply them to your work. So this is sort of like the first path that I take when I learn a new thing. So like we looked at like integrating it into like an automation workflow. This is where the new tools you learn about, this is where like any interesting script you learn about will go, so that you can apply it to any new target or like for monitor for it. Like if it's something that you can monitor for, stuff like subdomains and like ports and like JavaScript endpoints and stuff like that. But then like the other paths that the new knowledge goes into is either like we looked at the Notion methodology, the manual part. This is the second part, which is like for adding new tools and scripts. And the third part is adding like Burp Suite plugins, so that like they can help like take out like the part of the methodology where I have to be triggered to look for something. So like maybe when you see like a specific sort of functionality is used, or you see a specific type of technology, that's like where you get this mental trigger to try this technique. But the more you try to like take this part of your work out of your mind and onto something like a Burp Suite plugin, or like onto this sort of workflow, then it frees up your mind to like look at more challenging stuff. So like the first part is adding to the manual methodology, which is in Notion. This is the second part for like adding new tools. Third part is Burp Suite plugins, and the fourth and final part for me, for now at least, is adding like new stuff to the like bash dot files, so that I can have like aliases on my like terminal for like doing specific kinds of tasks. So like recently I learned about this cool tool for like viewing CSV files, and I deal with CSV files all the time, so that I added it with like the configuration that I want for it to my like bash.files, so that I can trigger it whenever I want without having to worry about like configuring it every single time. So if we jump back into the presentation here. So like this is pretty much how I do things right now, and these are like the takeaways that like I want you to keep in mind after this talk. It's like you should first thing start with the biggest time things. Like if there's a task that just takes you 5 seconds to do manually, then you probably shouldn't look at automating it that much. Then like another task that like you have to do like every day for an hour. So like you're gonna have to learn to prioritize and triage your methodology and the tasks that you have within it. And like the second thing, and this is a big one, like do not rely on automation for like 100% of your process and like cancel out your human creativity. Look, this is like really dangerous. Like you cannot automate everything. There are parts of like every target you look at that are gonna be unique. So you're gonna have to like not just be like someone who checks some boxes and like goes through a task list. Like you're gonna have to engage your brain and like use the automation for the stuff that you know you've perfected, and like use your own creativity for like the other things. And the third takeaway is like you have to know that this is not a marathon. You don't have to like build something to be perfect from like the first time. It's like take your time to like start small and increment the parts of your like workflow, either like automated or just written down step by step. And like don't fret that you have like only a little bit of it like laid out and everything else is like floating in your brain, this is like pretty normal. And like the fourth thing is you might want to like develop like some coding skills. Like this has been like sort of like a topic that has seen some like opposing opinions. Like, do you need to learn how to code to be like in the infosec industry or not? Like in my opinion, like you do not have to know how to code, but it helps when you like look at it from this like automation perspective. Like even learning a little bit of bash scripting is gonna come a long way to help you like parse files and like link your tools together and stuff like that. And the second takeaway and the next takeaway is you need to have like this objective look at like the things you do. And like I have like every week there is like a couple of hours that I have booked for just looking at my methodology that I've either laid out on Notion or in like a Trickest workflow or in my bash aliases or like the burp suite plugins, is to just take some time to think about like how can I make these things better, like what parts of it am I like doing in an inefficient way and that I can improve. And this sort of feeds back into the triage part of the process that we talked about, where you have like this sort of like one place where you collect all of your knowledge and then you can decide like which path you want to take it. And the final takeaway is to like learn that it's not useful to just hoard information, and it's gonna be like infinitely more valuable if you share it with others and you like help others through either like helping the companies that you're working with like securing their assets and their websites and stuff, or through helping like people who are coming to you for help, or like by sharing the stuff that you learn. Like you don't have like, and circling back to the like this idea, like you don't have to be an expert to write or to produce content, but you just have to like to know that everything you have to say is has a chance of helping someone who's just starting out. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and like share whatever you can. And this is it. Like if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now, or you can reach out to me on like Twitter or email or anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Thanks.
It was an amazing talk. So we have few questions here.
Mhm.
So first one by Alvin. He asks, how does ChatGPT work?
So, like, I didn't touch on ChatGPT, but like, this is, yeah, this is an interesting topic. Like, maybe I should have added it here. But like, the way it works is like like it has like a big data set of like content that it found online, and it's sort of applying the like sort of the knowledge or the approach that I was talking about, but in like an automated fashion. So like it has like archived all of the tweets, all of the blogs, all of the things that like people have put out there, and then you can ask it a question, and then it uses this knowledge to craft an answer for you. So it's sort of like what I was suggesting that everyone do, but in this case, like the bot's doing it. It has its own methodology and just answering your questions based on that methodology.
Okay. So the other one is by Bhavesh. He asks, how do you design and implement an automation workflow?
So like this is gonna be like a process, and it's gonna depend on like what sort of targets you work with often. But like the way to do it is you start with the things that you know you need all the time, and you start with things that take the most time of you, and then step by step, like you maybe start testing a new target, and then like you keep some notes like, hey, this is the first thing that I did, then the second, and then the third. And then you like take out like a couple of hours from your schedule to like see what sort of tools and what sort of approaches you can use to automate these steps that you have laid out while testing your actual real life target. Like it helps to think in terms of like what you already do than to just think in like in an abstract like, hey, how do I test like a thing?
Bhavesh, I hope that answers your question. So the next one is by Mr. Rootsec. He asks, I have tried Trickest, but there's not enough docs at that time to create workflow. But now I see we can totally customize the recon workflow. Do you have affordable plans to use Trickest?
Mhm. So like I agreed that we don't have enough docs at the moment. Like we have like at docs.trickest.com like some like usage instructions on like the basic like features of the platform and how to like use it and like how to use notes and what a node is, what a tool is and stuff like that. But we're also in like currently in the process of like creating more content. Like some of it will be more blogs, more videos about how to actually use these concepts and apply them to like real world workflows. And like, do we have an affordable plan for Trickest? So like there are like different kinds of plans. Like the current one for individuals is like 50 bucks a month, and there are like other like sort of customizations you can add to that, like whether you're an individual or you're like a company. Like you can reach out to me and I can send you more details.
Another one by Alvin. He asks, any AI based tool for bug bounty?
Like I haven't seen anything specifically for like bug bounty except for like there were a couple of like things that I saw. Like one of the tools, like I'm blanking out on the name right now, but like it has like it was using like some paths that it found to create a custom word list, like and use that to like test the target. And there's like another one by Bishop Fox, I think, Eyeballer, that like looks at the screenshots you take of your targets like through like Go Witness or whatever, and tries to like identify like what sort of thing that's in it. Like either it's like a login panel or like a specific kind of target or anything like that. And there's also Chat GPT, which was just mentioned. Like you can use it, you can ask it to like a craft like a script for you to maybe parse the results of some tool or like to build you like some way to manipulate data. Like it works really well for this kind of like simple task.
Okay. So we have Fahad Khan. He asks, do we need VPS for this automation?
No, not really. Like you can like there are multiple approaches for it. Like you can run like some of this stuff on like on your own like personal machine, or like you can use a VPS or you can use a platform like Trickest, which everything has its like pros and cons. Like but in my opinion, like the simplest way to get started is using like something like Trickest, which has like a lot of the building blocks already integrated. But you can also like do if you want to start like a bit smaller, you can by all means start on like on your own machine. Just look at like what tools you can use, like what sort of automation you want to build, and start on your own machine, and then like sort of level up from there.
Okay. So the next one is by Rohit. Yes, sir, I'm using Notion for note taking. Can I import my notes into Trickest interface or should I start from beginning?
Import notes, like it's not gonna be like like a one button like here import the notes, but it's gonna be like pretty easy to just like look at your notes and like see what sort of techniques you're using in there, and just search for them in the Trickest library and like drag any building blocks you need and connect them. Like it's a really good start that you have your notes already in Notion, and it's gonna help you like create this workflow like really fast.
Great. Rohit, I hope your question is answered. So again by Fahad, yes, is this the type of automation the top hackers use?
uh like maybe you should ask them. But like we like one person that like I really admire in sort of like this space. It's like today's new, like he's like this is like his handle on Buckcrowd. He's like currently the number one on like Buckcrowd's leaderboard. And like he mentioned, I think on some blog or in some like interview that he uses a lot of automation. And like I think maybe we share some of the same ideas. Like he said that like he tries to automate whatever he can so that he can have more time to do like the thing that matter to him, like spending time with family and like researching like new things. So like maybe the actual approach, like the actual infrastructure where you deploy the automation is going to be different, but the same like general ideas apply. Like look at your methodology, try to lay it out and like see what can be improved.
So Jelly asks how we can get latest updates about CV or vulnerability updates, so then we can implement in our automation or nuclear templates.
So like this is we have like a project on like the Trickest like GitHub account, like it's a public project for doing this thing like specifically, like where we search GitHub and a couple of other sources for like proof of concepts and exploits for like any new CVE that comes out. And then we have them all archived into like this one data set that you can download. So like one way to like go about it would be to maybe watch the project on GitHub through like the watch project, the watch repository thing, and then you would get like new notifications whenever like a new proof of concept makes it into this repository. And you can maybe do the same thing for the nuclei templates repository. You watch it or you follow like their feed, and like you will be notified for anything new that comes onto this repository, and you can just go ahead and like integrate it into your workflows or just run it on all of your targets. So project discovery / nuclei templates and Trickest / CVE.
Okay. So Mumi asks, is Trickest based on your previous work on Bounty Machine?
Sort of. Like the Trickest team like started, like I joined the Trickest team like a little bit over a year now, but like we like share like the same values and like the same approach that I started with Bounty Machine. And like I'm trying to like move like everything that I learned from Bounty Machine onto Trickest right now. Like so all of the, either in terms of the infrastructure that is used or in terms of the workflows that we have built onto Bounty Machine, pretty much everything in it has been moved onto Trickest right now.
So the next one is by Samuel. Yes, can AI used for OSINT automation?
Like like I haven't also like seen like any project that has dealt with this specific problem like OSINT, but like maybe this is like an area that can see like future research, like maybe for like categorizing the data that you find through OSINT or stuff like that. But like this is like one thing you have to keep in mind is like you don't have to like think this fancy in the beginning with like AI. Like you can start small with just like connecting the tools that you already have, and it's gonna like get you a long way on its own. And then like on the side you can think about like improving these things and maybe like integrating AI into this problem.
I hope your question is answered, Samuel. So the next question is how to join Trickest team.
Like you can like send us an email. Like maybe like we're always like looking for like new like passionate people who can like help us like get this vision out there of like improving the productivity of people, like either like red teamers, penetration testers, bug bounty hunters. Like we are always trying to look for people who share the same vision and like who have like interesting ideas that can help us. So yeah, by all means, like DM me or send us an email, like and we'll take it from there.
So guys, attendees, so please email Mohammed and Next time, maybe you can be the speaker from the Trickest team. Is this tool going to be premium?
This tool, I assume you're talking about Trickest. So like there is like the you pay for like the infrastructure costs, like I mentioned, like we handle the like all of the server setup and all of the tool integrations and all this stuff for you. So you just pay for like as like an individual. You pay for the like the server usage you use, and then like everything inside of it, like we have like some pre-built workflow templates and some like tool integrations. Everything inside is completely free.
So the next is by Prashant. He asks, do we have the option to do the automation process in real time?
So in real time, as in like monitoring, I assume. So yeah, you can like absolutely do this. Like either like on Trickest, you have like the option to like schedule a workflow so that you can have it running like either like all the time, or you have it like running once a day, once a week. So yeah, by all means, and this is like a really good way of thinking. It's like running your automation processes like all the time. It's gonna like help you a lot, because like it's gonna like help you catch these sort of like new vulnerabilities, like vulnerabilities that come and go. Like some assets just make it online for a very brief amount of time. So if you're running your automation and you're monitoring all the time, you have like a big chance of catching them before anyone else.
Good. Jagadish asks, when will we get access from Trickest for individual API access?
So like the platform is currently like invite only, unfortunately. Like we're sort of like slowly scaling up and like letting more people in, but you can like apply for like to join like the waiting list on like Trickest.com. And like we also plan on like providing like a sort of public API access like in the near future. So yeah, stay tuned.
Great. So Jelly again, due to AI and other automation projects, what do you think the future of bug hunting after 5 to 8 years?
Hmm. So like I think that like the effect that AI will have on like on bug bounty is the same effect that it will have like on like every other sort of field, is that it will like sort of weed out all of the or most of like the more mundane tasks, like the stuff that usually took like a lot of time and like no actual like creative thinking process. But I think this is like a really good thing, because it's just gonna open up like new ways for us to spend our time, if that makes sense. So like by like having AI and automation take over like the boring parts, we have more time to think about the interesting parts. So I think it's a good thing.
Great. Which vulnerabilities are bug hunters most likely to find in 2023?
So I think like the biggest sort of like it's like a big category that has inside of it like other types of vulnerabilities, is like assets that the company doesn't know about. So like this is the problem that I've seen with most of the like the companies that I've worked for. It's like they have like either like servers or like subdomains, or they have like some cloud assets or whatever that their development team like doesn't know exists. And because of that, these can be either have like outdated software on them, or like have like some disclosed secrets or like anything like that. But it all stems down from this idea of not having like a proper sort of asset inventory. So like one thing you can like keep in mind is like you try to like either like improve your recon process like really really well to find out the assets that these companies like haven't added to their internal inventory. And or like you can like take the other approach of like digging deep into one target and like trying to like sort of like do the opposite of the first approach. So like you can either like go really really wide or like you go really really deep, and like both approaches work. Both approaches have like pros and cons. So like I try to usually like mix it up. Like for one target, especially on like bug bounties, I try to do like recon for like hours, and then like every target I just look at briefly. And for other targets, I do it the other way around. I pick one target and I map out every single piece of functionality they have in there, and both approaches work.
So Rohan has this question: how can we improve our creativity?
Hmm, like philosophical questions.
Yes.
So like something that I heard is like creativity is just about connecting the dots. So like what you want to have is like it like this is like sort of how like a two-part process. Like you want to have more dots and you want to know how to connect them. So like the way to have more dots is like by improving the sort of your content consumption like process, like you saw on like the I think the second or the third slide. Like we have a lot of content being put out by people like every day, either in like Twitter, YouTube, blogs, like disclosed reports and stuff like that. So like you try to like gather as much dots as you can, and then you like lay them out all in front of you, and you try to connect them. So like one thing, like one example of this is like that I've started doing recently is like we all know this idea of creating like a custom word list for like brute forcing subdomains and endpoints and stuff like that. But for some reason, like I never tried to like get a custom word list for parameter discovery. So like, and which was like pretty simple to do. Like you grab the parameters from the endpoints you already have through like either spidering or like tools like Gao or whatever, and you just use these parameters to brute force for other like parameters and inputs on other endpoints, which has worked like really, really well for me. So it's sort of like what creativity means for me is like having like one concept and trying to like apply it in like a different context, or like try to like merge two ideas together, or try to like apply an idea in a slightly different way and like build up from there.
Yeah. So basically, there should be a trial and error in the process as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this will be the last question we will be taking up for the session. So how do you prioritize what to learn or do when the learning curve is so huge?
So like the thing you prioritize is gonna depend on like on your own goals, like on what you actually wanna do with your learnings, with your knowledge. But like for me personally, like the stuff that I try to learn more of is the stuff that can have like an actionable difference on like the way that I do things. Like sometimes like I read like research just for fun, like and like documentation and stuff like that, but the thing that I try to focus more on and the thing that I spend more time on is things that can actually like improve me as like a penetration tester, like as a hacker, if you will. So, and what do you do when the learning curve is still huge? You just have to like keep going at it. Like it's gonna be hard in the beginning. Like every new topic you get into is gonna be hard. It's gonna be pretty difficult when you're just getting started. But like over time, it just gets easier. You just have to put in these hours. You just have to like keep going at it, and over time, you're gonna find that you start enjoying like this sort of climbing the learning curve. Like you realize that it's not that things have become easier, but you have become better at handling hard stuff, if that makes sense.
There are so many emojis coming up for you. Thank you, audience. So this is the end of the Q&A. And I must say, Mohammed, it was a very insightful and enlightening talk, not only in the perspective of your workflows, but also on a personal note. I think the audience have gained an approach on how to follow their goals and achieve them. Thank you so much. I
Thank
hope
you
you
for
also
having
had a
me.
great time.
I did. Thank you so much. Like this is like I really love the idea of the conference, like having this sort of like I read the thing you had on the about page, like of like everything sharing like technical everyone's sharing like technical content, but not everyone's sharing about the struggles of
The human side of the
yeah,
struggle. Yes.
absolutely. So yeah, I think this is like a really good thing. Like keep going at it, like and keep doing this sort of thing. It's awesome.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, people, I hope you all have also enjoyed the talk as much as I did. It was really exciting and insightful. So, the next talk will just start in about 10 minutes. So, you can just take the screenshots of this talk and any other talk you have been attending all through the event and tag us on Twitter at the rate infosec.com, and you will have cool giveaways. The giveaways include Pentest Lab Pro 1 month coupon, Bug Bounty Pro annual license, and IW swag. So if you are someone who is only interested in the IW swag, please don't forget to add the hashtag IW swag. So the networking rooms are also open. Please feel free to join and advertise yourself, connect with more like-minded people, and see and take your infosec journey a level up. Thank you.